Prince of Persia, Ubisoft's most famous game series that is now forgotten. The Prince of Persia games were a lot popular in the early 2000s, with many people waiting for the new entry in the franchise. But how it went downhill? In this video I'll talk about this game series. So hello there, this is a Mentorr, and let's start the video. The whole franchise started with Sands of Time, which was launched back in 2003. The game introduced something new in the gaming genre, which was history mixed with time traveling, where you could rewind time to save yourself from dying. This concept was pretty much new at that time, and when combined with parkour and an amazing story, the game became an instant hit and made a special place in everyone's heart. This game sold 2 million plus copies at the end of 2003, making it one of the best Ubisoft games at that time. After the success of this game, the makers decided to make another game, which was a sequel to this game, and it was Prince of Persia: Warrior Within. Warrior Within continued Sands of Time storyline, but improved everything from the first game. From combat to storyline, everything was made to perfection. The Sands of Time concept, which was introduced in the first game, expanded in this game, making it more exciting than the previous game. Contrary to the first game, this game had two different endings, which were dependent on how the player played the game, and this was the unique part of the game. The whole plot featuring the Island of Time and Prince preventing his death by the hands of the Haka was the key and focusing point of the game. This game also became fan favorite, and some of its sequences still surprise players till this day, which shows how much of a masterpiece this game was. This game sold 1.9 million plus copies just in its debut month, which made this game a commercial hit as well. After this, Ubisoft decided to make another sequel, which was Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones. Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones was the last part of the original trilogy, which featured some sort of a nod and callback to Sands of Time. This game featured the dark side of Prince as well as an intriguing story. The overall gameplay was heavily improved, making this game even more interesting than previous one. The game continued the second ending from Warrior Within, where we see Prince go to Babylon with Kailina, whom he saved from the Island of Time, but things go wrong as practically Prince resetted his whole timeline after Warrior Within, and some characters from the previous games reappear in this game, making it even more grand. The game also ends the same way as Sands of Time, where we see Prince telling the story to Farah. But even after all this, the game sold only 1.5 million copies, which were 500,000 less than Warrior Within and Sands of Time. After this, Ubisoft considered another entry, which was a prequel to all the games, the trilogy, which would have featured young Prince with a pair of assassins. But during development, Ubisoft changed the plan and made this game into a separate game, which was Assassin's Creed, and surprisingly, that game sold well. And this was the point where the Prince of Persia series started to go downhill. After the release of Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft focused on Assassin's Creed games and never released any Prince of Persia game until 2008, where they completely rebooted the character as well as his old story arc, which was shown in the original trilogy, and made the game a bit cartoonish. The game disappointed a lot of players of the franchise, and the game saw critical backlash, and the ratings were also less than the previous Prince of Persia game. After this, Ubisoft scrapped the idea of a reboot and continued making another Prince of Persia game set in the original timeline, and the game was Prince of Persia: The Forgotten Sands. After this announcement, many original Prince of Persia fans were happy, as their favorite franchise is getting another entry. The game was a prequel set between Warrior Within and Sands of Time, and featured some of the best visual effects at that time, with some of the old mechanics returning as well as introduction of the new ones. But unfortunately, the game did not got good enough ratings, and hence Ubisoft's faith in the series started to collapse. And after this, they cancelled another Prince of Persia game which was in development and was supposed to release in 2015 and would have continued the series story. After about 10 years, in 2020, Ubisoft announced that the classic trilogy is getting a remake and everything will be built from scratch. But the plus point was that the voice actors who gave their voice in the original series will return in this remake, with Sands of Time being the first game to get a remake. And during an event where Ubisoft showcased some of the upcoming titles, the Sands of Time remake was also shown, which was being developed by an Indian studio. But after this event, many fans criticized the cartoonish look of the game, with poor graphics and animations. After this backlash, the game was further delayed to 2022, as the original release date for the game was January 2021. But in 2022, the game was also not released, as the developers at one point thought of cancelling the game. But fortunately, it didn't happen, and now it seems that the game is in safe hands, as the studio which was previously working on the game as of development, and Ubisoft Montreal is in charge of the project. And that was the whole history of the Prince of Persia games and how they went downhill. I only hope that Ubisoft acknowledges the potential this series has and how much the fans love this series, and release a new game as soon as possible, as the chances of this happening are slim but not zero. I hope you guys love this video and hit the subscribe button so that you become a member of this community and never miss any video. I'll see you guys in another video. Till then, bye.